Before there were religions, there were star maps, carved into stone, whispered into myth. These weren't gods. They were architects. They walked among us, before us had a name. The ancient visitors didn't crash into deserts or hover above air bases. They arrived when the skies were young and the earth still remembered the stars. The Lyrans came first. Tall, human-like, radiant in form. They weren't just explorers, they were seeders. According to multiple contactee accounts and deep memory regressions, Lyrans brought with them the first humanoid DNA templates. They didn't create humanity directly, but they shaped the genetic pool we would inherit. You can trace echoes of their story through Earth's earliest myths. Atlantis, Lemuria, even the Vedic Devas. Their collapse, later at the hands of the Draco, would fracture their lineage across the stars, from Vega to Earth. Ancient cosmology texts like the Prism of Lyra help explain this origin timeline, mapping out how Earth's story was never isolated, but part of a galactic diaspora. You'll find a link in the description if you want to explore that further. Then came the Pleiadians, more ethereal, more luminous. These were not seeders, they were guides. Countless channeled messages across decades describe the Pleiadians as protectors of consciousness, light-coded healers. They intervened quietly, enhancing dream states, assisting early spiritual development. Ancient cave art in places like Val Camonica, Italy, depicts humanoids with strange headgear and rays of energy descending from the heavens. Coincidence or memory? Next were the Sirians. This is where myth and science cross paths. The Dogon tribe of Mali has passed down precise astronomical knowledge of Sirius B, a star invisible to the naked eye. Centuries before telescopes, they claimed they learned this from beings who came from the stars, beings who swam like fish and lived beneath the ocean. In Egyptian lore, Sirius is tied to Isis, rebirth, and soul migration. Even today, modern researchers suspect the Sirius system was a staging point for multiple alien groups, assisting Earth's early development. And then, there were the Anunnaki. If you've heard the name, you've likely heard the controversy. Were they gods? Aliens? Something in between? Let's be clear. Anunnaki isn't a species, it's a role. In Sumerian, it means those who came from the heavens. Some were Lyran descended, others were Sirian linked. Still others may have been reptilian. According to Zecharia Sitchin's interpretation of the Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki came from a planet called Nibiru, genetically modified early humans, and left behind monumental structures as markers. Not everyone agrees with that version, but even skeptics struggle to explain how ancient civilizations suddenly built pyramids aligned with stars they shouldn't have known existed. Artifacts from Mesopotamia show winged figures operating what look suspiciously like wristwatches, pine cone devices, and bags with unknown tech. Whether they were terraformers or tyrants depends on which lineage you trace, but one thing is consistent: they didn't act alone. The Anunnaki were likely a coalition of species, some of whom we've already mentioned, and others we haven't, including the Arcturians. These beings, associated with the blue star Arcturus, are said to operate on higher vibrational planes. They're healers, architects of energy grids, and protectors of planetary consciousness. Abductees and psychics describe their ships as living light, and their presence as almost angelic. Some say the Arcturians helped create Earth's crystalline grid, and still work through human consciousness to maintain balance in times of chaos. Together, these 5 species formed the invisible scaffolding of early human civilization. And yet, nearly all official records deny their existence. You won't find them in textbooks, but you will find them etched in stone, encoded in myth, and recalled in dreams. They weren't gods, they weren't legends, they were the first contact. Some came to guide, others came to take. Not all visitors are angels, and not all agreements were made with consent. If the ancient ones built the garden, These are the ones who walked in after dark. Contact didn't end in antiquity. It evolved, shifted, slipped underground, both literally and figuratively. As human civilization rose and centralized power, the visitors who followed stopped showing up as gods and began appearing in shadows. Let's start with the Greys, the most commonly reported species in modern history. Small bodies, large black eyes, emotionless presence. Whether you're looking at Roswell, Betty and Barney Hill, or thousands of cases worldwide. The Greys dominate the alien abduction narrative. They're often described as scientists, cold, clinical, operating on humans like test subjects. Theories abound. Are they creating hybrids, harvesting genetic material, trying to reclaim something they've lost? Jim Sparks's book, The Keepers, documents years of direct contact with these beings. His accounts describe abductions not as random, but as part of a long-term program, one that involves telepathic communication, multi-species collaboration, and a disturbing level of control. That book is linked in the description if you want to see the actual transcripts. Many researchers believe the Greys come from Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system, and may have genetically altered themselves into an evolutionary dead end, hence the hybrid experiments. Others think they serve larger powers. Enter the tall whites, less discussed but no less real. First brought into mainstream conversation by Charles Hall, a military contractor who claimed to have interacted with them at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. Tall, pale, and ethereal, they reportedly aged slowly and communicated through subtle emotional waves. They worked with the U.S. military, sharing limited tech, operating under strict rules, and rarely revealing their deeper motives. Not quite allies, not exactly captors, more like landlords. And then come the reptilians, the ones most people want to ignore. You've heard the name, you've seen the memes, but dig past the satire and you'll find ancient references to serpent gods, dragon lords, and shape-shifting beings across cultures. The Draco are said to originate from the Alpha Draconis system, a power-obsessed, hierarchical civilization that values control, dominance, and psychological manipulation. They allegedly infiltrate power structures, influence global policy, and thrive on energetic suppression. This is where conspiracy crosses into metaphysics. Are they literal lizards in suits? Are they masters of emotional manipulation, using belief systems and trauma to siphon human energy? Many contactees and whistleblowers say yes, but the Draco don't work alone. They've often been linked to negative factions from the Orion constellation. While not all Orions are hostile, certain groups, particularly those from Orion's belt, are described as warlike, strategic, and deeply involved in galactic manipulation. They're the tacticians, the architects of division. If the Greys are the lab techs and the Draco are the generals, then the Orions are the policymakers. Together, they form a loose but powerful alliance, one allegedly responsible for much of Earth's energetic suppression in the modern era. Abduction records, ancient carvings, government leaks, and intuitive downloads all point toward coordinated interference. And yet, they're rarely named. Why? Because the moment you name them, you give people the power to question them, to resist, to remember. That's why most contactees aren't just silenced. They're discredited, laughed at, written off as dreamers. But dreams have power. And stories like The Keepers have shown us that when enough people remember, patterns emerge. These interveners didn't just visit, they embedded. They planted programs, not just in politics or media, but in the collective unconscious. You're not just waking up to what happened, you're waking up to what's still happening. They don't arrive in ships. They don't speak in words. You don't see them. They see you, not to control, not to invade, but to observe, to calibrate, to wait. There are beings who don't intervene, but they are very much present. Not all alien contact happens in 3D. Not all species are interested in resources, genetics, or dominion. Some exist to maintain balance, to guide evolution, not by force, but by frequency. The blue avians are perhaps the most mysterious of all. Described by contactees as tall, glowing, bird-like beings, blue in hue, feathered and silent, they are said to originate from a much higher density than our physical reality. Think of them not as creatures, but as consciousness, shaped into form. Their presence entered mainstream discourse through whistleblowers like Corey Goode, but their archetype runs deeper. Ancient Egyptian glyphs depict Thoth as a bird-headed being. Hindu texts reference Garuda, a divine avian guardian. And in modern channelings, most notably the Law of One, these entities align with the group known as Ra, a collective intelligence guiding planetary development across eons. The blue avians are said to operate within the sixth density, a vibrational layer where polarity begins to dissolve and unity becomes the guiding force. They don't give orders, they don't abduct, they remind. When Earth nears evolutionary thresholds, mass awakening, major planetary shifts, or collective destabilization, they appear in dreams, meditation, and moments of quiet knowing. Not to interfere, but to steady the field. If the Draco hijack fear, the avians amplify harmony. Where one embeds programs, the other seeds remembrance. The Law of One archives describes this perfectly. It details a cosmology where beings like the blue avians assist in guiding civilizations like ours through cycles of forgetfulness into remembrance. You can search that archive yourself, links in the description. It's not mythology, it's structure. And they're not the only ones watching. There are whispers, repeated across cultures, of light beings, sphere beings, and interdimensional mentors that appear to humans during initiations, awakenings, or moments of death. They don't belong to one star system. They don't sign treaties. They're the caretakers of potential. And here's the twist no one talks about. Many of these beings might be us. Future versions, alternate evolutions, echoes across time. What if the Watchers are not just observing, but waiting for us to catch up, to reach the point where we no longer need saving, where we remember the galactic game we once forgot, where we become, once again, participants, not pawns? The blue avians remind us that Earth isn't just a rock floating in space. It's a nexus, a testing ground, a mirror. And you, watching this, might be part of that reflection. A soul seated across dimensions, slowly waking up to the story you were never meant to forget. So now that you've seen the map, Lyrans, Sirians, Greys, Reptilians, and the Watchers above, one question remains. What are they all doing here? What agendas are still playing out? What treaties, what betrayals, what ancient wars are being reactivated now? Through us? If you're ready to go deeper, to understand the real power players behind Earth's galactic entanglement, then check out the next piece in this series, Alien Agendas on Earth, What You Were Never Meant to Remember. It's where the mystery gets personal. Until then, keep looking up, not just at the sky, but within it. Because not all visitors come from elsewhere. Some are already here.